All right, let's go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Happy May Day. It is May 1st. I'm Aaron Mays. I'm the chairman this year. Represent District 3. On my left is Commissioner Bill Rippon. He represents District 1. On my right, Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 2. And then our County Councilor, Rich Eckert, down at the end over there. Good morning to all of you. So, what we are doing today is kind of having an informal conversation to talk about kind of real estate and development in Shawnee County, and we'll talk about some of the trends that we're seeing and things like that. So, first off, let's invite up Katie. Do you want to come on up and we'll just... Good morning and welcome. So, could you please just give us kind of an update on the building sector right now?
Well, I'm Katie Nelson. I'm the CEO of the Topeka Area Building Association. Thanks again for asking me to come and let you know how we're doing. As far as building, you know, Topeka's a slow build process. It always has been. We're more of a remodeling town, and you know, the tariffs and things like that really hasn't changed a whole lot just yet. It's coming down the pipeline. Things are going to start getting a little tougher. It's going to get a little harder to build. It's going to get a little harder to do anything construction-wise. We don't just handle homes. We handle a lot of construction, so a lot of the commercial side as well. One of the things that we're trying to really kind of focus on is the National Association of Home Builders kind of jumps ahead of the game, and they don't have a problem jumping in real heavy in the politics and going after, hey, we can't, these tariffs aren't working for us, and that's how we got the stop on the lumber tariffs coming out of Canada and Mexico. So that really helped us, and it helps all of us nationwide. So as far as tariffs on lumber, we kind of got a slide on that right now. Now what happens later, we don't know. Who knows what's going to change in a month or so. We're still waiting to see what's next, and nobody really knows. I mean, we're still waiting on percentages on other things. I was just having a conversation with Budget Blinds of Topeka, and they were telling me that they've got tariffs anywhere from 10% to 65%. So, I mean, that's just one line of construction. So, I mean, tariffs are going to hit everything pretty hard. You know, there's some things that here in Topeka that we've done locally that are helping building. So I do think that one thing's going to kind of counteract the other. So in Topeka, I think we're going to be okay. Again, that's going to hit a little bit later, and it's going to take a little bit longer to get where we're going. I think if we just kind of steer clear and kind of keep moving forward, we're going to be okay. For us as the building association, you know, we focus a lot on educating the community, educating our builders. The city doesn't do much education anymore, and that falls on us, which is fine with us because we like the education to come through us. So we hold a lot of continuing education classes for contractors, again, not just home builders, but commercial as well. We also do a lot for architects and stuff like that. So, you know, we kind of get to see and hear what everybody's troubles and problems are. So I'll know a little bit more after May, because we have some pretty big trainings coming up, and part of one of the days is just a roundtable of the contractors coming in to find out what their issues are. Because since I'm not out on the ground floor, I don't know. If they don't tell me, I don't know what it is. Nationwide, for building in general, it really hasn't slowed down yet. So, you know, we're not really having a whole lot of home building issues. Commercial side, I mean, look around town. There's building going on everywhere. So again, that's not a problem either. one of the things that we focus a lot on as well in our association is we focus a lot on workforce development. So we work with students a lot. We just did a big event and we had about 800 kids come to an event that really opened their eyes to trades in general and how to get them into workforce and where to go from there. And within that day, we hired 22 kids. So we're really working to get the workforce up and running in Shawnee County, because that is another thing that's needed. It's not just where are we building next, how are we getting those people to build? Because a lot of them don't know. I mean, the average age is 60. So we gotta bridge that gap as well. So it's not just, is home building slowing down, but where are the people coming from to build? So there's a lot of things that we kind of have stacked against us right now, as far as we don't know where the tariffs are coming, we don't know where the next generation of workers are coming. Where do we go from here? So.
Are there certain types of construction right now, like in terms of new building, that are needed that we are not getting?
I would say the middle class. We have a lot of projects getting ready to start to support the low income. We need to worry about the middle. We're missing the middle. Luxury apartments is always going to be an issue because, a lot of people, when they get into their 50s and 60s, they're wanting to sell their homes and be taken care of. I don't blame them. I don't want to mow the lawn anymore, I want somebody to come over and mow the lawn. So we got to think of those things too. So the missing middle is really what we need to be concentrating on. And, I'm also on the planning commission for Topeka, and we're working on that as well. So, there are some things that we could be doing a little bit stronger in the Shawnee County area, and we could be helping push those things forward a little bit more. But it is a slow process. We all know that.
Commissioner Mace?
Yeah.
What is the middle? Please define that.
So I would say I don't want to go off of income because that's different for everybody, but a home.
You're talking about a $200,000 house, $150,000 house. What would you?
So for a new build, there's no such thing as a $150,000 home anymore. A new build, the average new build home is about $260,000 to about $400,000. So that's going to be your $260,000. It's probably going to be on the low end.
Okay.
There's just really not a $150,000 anymore. Costs are too high.
It's just hard for me to quantify, from a commissioner, from a planning standpoint, what sorts of things we should be targeting, or what sorts of, just again, for that dialogue and that conversation. Because when you say low for me, that might mean one thing. When you say middle, for me, that might mean a different thing. And I just want to make sure we're both talking the same language. And
it's different for a lot of people. I hear a lot, we need affordable housing. Well, you will probably never hear me use that term because I don't believe in that term. Because when you use that term, people think Section 8, and that's not what's needed. We need attainable. Affordable. What really is affordable? What's affordable for me is not affordable for half the other people in the room, or vice versa. So, that's why I don't use that term at all. But as far as the middle, I would say, $300,000, that's probably your average right now.
So there's been some projects before the county where they were targeting maybe the people that are selling their house, the children are grown, they're looking for something that is maybe all one level. It was billed to us as senior housing starting at 55, and being in my 50s, it was 55 sounds, when I say senior, I think much older than 50. But so from your perspective in working with your organization, should we be targeting more the people that are becoming the empty nesters so that their homes would then be remodeled, or should we be targeting those young families in Topeka, or both?
I would say a little bit of both, but more so, I'm getting ready to turn 50 in 2 months, so I'm right there with you. Right there with you. We've been in empty nesters for 5 years, and I'm like, man, you know what? We could go smaller. What did we do? We bought a bigger house. I don't know why. I don't want to do it, but we did it anyway. We didn't need it, but it is where we wanted, and it's what we wanted. What is missing in the Topeka, Shawnee County area is us. homes for us to move to. Because when we move up, somebody else moves into where we were. And that does help. The 55 retirement communities, I'll go there in 5 years. They're going to take care of you. I'm kidding. I'm not going there in 5 years, maybe. But, I mean, if you think about it, you really, that's the age group we need to be targeting. There's a lot for, like, my kids. There's a lot of places for them to look at. You know, there's a lot of the homes out there that are 160 to 225. You know, they're going to have to remodel them, but a lot of, I mean, you know, some of the kids out there want to do them themselves anyway. We're running into that a lot. I don't recommend that. I recommend hiring a professional because you're going to end up needing that professional anyway. However, a lot of them are doing it. You know, my daughter and son, she bought a home when she was 21 years old, and she bought that home because she didn't want to rent anymore. She bought a $150,000 home. It's now $225 because they did work, and she works for a construction company, so they did some of the work. You know, so to answer your question, it's our age, maybe a little bit older. I would say, you know, probably 50 to 65 is what's really missing, because once we move into a different home, then our homes free up for the younger generation to move into our homes.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
I do. I want to go back to workforce. Now, Washburn Tech, they have a number of lanes people can go into. What all do they have? Do they have like plumbing? Do they produce people who can frame, electricians? What?
So Washburn Tech is a great program. They've got plumbing, they've got electrical, they've got carpentry, and their carpentry is taking on kind of a different direction now, which it's a good direction, and they've got a new instructor over there, and he's amazing. They've also got, you know, auto mechanics and stuff like that. It's all the things that are definitely needed, and when they're done with their courses, they're ready. They're ready for their first job.
Are they missing any professions that maybe
Yeah.
maybe we should look at?
Heavy operating,
What's
heavy
that?
equipment operating,
I see. Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
And, you know, the other thing I want to point out is when you have a person that wants to go into plumbing, say, and this is strange to me in the Shawnee County, Topeka area, you have a 1-to-1 ratio. So a master can only train one apprentice at a time. We're the only place that has that. It's usually either a 2 apprentice to 1 master or a 3 apprentice to 1 master, and I still don't understand why Topeka, Shawnee County is a 1-to-1 ratio. If you are a master, you should be able to watch more than one.
Where does that come from? Who's the authority that's making that?
I'm working on that. Everybody wants to pass the buck on whose job that is to look into that. So I'm working on getting to the bottom of that one. That's my,
Yeah,
that's,
if we can help, would you let?
oh, absolutely. I mean, I have.
Do you think it's in the building code?
It's actually not in the building code because we just helped go through the building code. Our association did. When the new codes come out, they actually call and say, hey, Katie, who do you want on this committee to help write the codes?
And Commissioners, just so you know, the state fire marshal is working with the city of Topeka on their building code.
Yeah.
And I think they're close.
They are.
But our building code is tied directly to the city building code. So when the city building code upgrades, ours automatically upgrades as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had that conversation with the state fire marshal.
Okay.
Katie, what kind of participation are they getting at Washburn Tech? Are they filling up these classes, or?
The classes are full with the waiting list.
Okay. Well, they're doing their.
And I can take every single student that's graduating in the trades that I am directly with, I can place every single one of them with a job if they want it.
And yet
Every single one of them.
And we still have a shortage.
And I still have a shortage. And a part of it is, again, the ones that are going into electricians, the plumbers, it's the 1-to-1 ratio. So they're waiting. They can't do anything. They can go and pick up trash.
To change.
The other problem they have is, you know, we have the Build My Future event we just had, commissioners. The 800 kids we have, I can't put tools in those kids' hands until they turn 18. So what does that do? Oh, please come and look at what you, oh, well, in a couple years you can do this. Right now, you can come and pick up trash on a job site. That's not enticing to anybody. So if we can, work through those obstacles, we're going to be so much better off, and you're going to see a lot more building going on around here.
So when you say they can't work until they're 18, is that like employer rules? Are these like because their insurance policies won't cover a teenager, or?
A lot of it has to do with insurance, and it's a Kansas thing as well. Colorado, you could start working on job sites when you're 16 years old. I am working with my lobbyist to figure out how can we adopt some of this stuff to Kansas, because we got to figure this out. I mean, we could bring these kids in and we can put them to work, but they can't touch a power tool. Well, really, what are we giving them a job to do? How are we going to bridge that gap sooner, quicker, and more efficient if we can't put a power tool in their hand? The reason we have to hold the event we hold during school hours is because it falls under the school's insurance on a field trip.
Are there any labor laws that prevent them from federal?
Not on federal,
Okay. All right.
so.
Any other questions?
Home sales, do you have anything, are you monitoring any part of that, or?
I don't really keep up on that. I think the
realtors are
realtors will
coming next.
help you with that.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys are just watching the home sales too, as part of the builders, to see what's happening in the market, so to make sure that we're building enough.
We communicate back and forth. We're not building enough. We're not. Absolutely not. And that's the best answer I can give you. I don't know what the happy number is, but what we're building right now is not enough. And will it ever be enough? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that anybody knows that answer. You've got, the kids that are graduating, they need homes. Can they afford them? I don't know. What kind of jobs are they getting? Boils down to workforce.
Okay.
The biggest problem we face right now is workforce. That is our biggest holdback on everything.
Do you know why is it that we seem slower to build than other communities? I mean, when you drive through some cities and, there's a construction site on every block, and, a new apartment complex is opening up, every month or two. And, until Wheatfield Village was built, it had been nearly 20 years since we had a new apartment complex built in Topeka. Is that, is there something that we're doing wrong here that we need to fix? What can we do better? What can we do better to try and help the market?
Part of it is just getting the developers to come here. The developers need a reason to come. And I'm on a special committee through the Planning Commission, and we are working on that, and we just met with some developers a couple weeks ago, and they gave us a whole list of stuff that they'd like to see to help them. So we've actually got another meeting in a couple of days with just now the committee to kind of try to put some of that stuff to work. So we are working on it, and I hope that some of the stuff will, kind of bloom into what we need. We have received several permits that have come through lately that are looking like, oh, people want to actually start building here. So that's different than it was before, because like you said, it had been a long time. Wheatfield, and it's, 98% full? So it was needed, and we could probably use 2 more of the luxury apartment sides rather than continuously going to the lower income side. And that's where a lot of people want to develop, is the lower income, because they get a lot of tax credits. Which, that's amazing. Don't get me wrong, that's amazing. However, is that all that's needed? Absolutely not. It's just, it's a great thing that we need, but it's not all we need. We need more Wheatfield. We need more you know, for our age group. That's what we need. So it's kind of a catch-22, because the developers want the tax credit, which, again, I totally understand. I mean, everybody wants a tax credit, but that's not just what we need. So we need a lot more than that,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, anything else? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Well, let's hear from the realtors. Come on up, guys.
I'll give you some data sheets.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking time with us today. My name is Darren Stevens. I am the SAR, which is the local board of realtors president for this year. I'm also a broker and a selling broker, so I happen to own Stone and Store Real Estate Group. So I'm in this every day, not just from the board standpoint, but I sell every day. And I will tell you, going back, we've struggled from an availability, and whether you call it affordability or, Katie, what was your?
Attainable.
Attainable. Either way, we have an issue, and it really it goes back to, believe it or not, still from COVID. So when you look at the Shawnee County market, we should see 300 to 400 houses on the market at any given time, okay, across every price range in the entire county. During COVID, in the height of the craziness when you all heard, we had 50 to 60 houses only available. I'm not kidding you, 50 to 60 for everybody trying to buy a house. So what did that do? Put enormous pressure on that. And so you had a house go on the market and you'd have 25 or 30 offers on one house, every price range. And you look at, when you think 50 to 60, there were some houses you couldn't even buy anything below 100. There may be 3 to 5. There were between 100 and 200,000, 2 to 300. You'd have 3 to 5. So that went on during COVID period. We started to come out a little bit. That number bumped up to about 110 to 120 for almost 12 months after that. Okay, it was still very low. Then moved fast forward, we got to the point where we had the 8% interest rates. That number started to spike. We got back up to about 220. Keep in mind, we should see 300 to 400. Okay, so even at that 220, 230, people, and that was that period where the interest rates were going up and down. They'd go to 7 and then they'd go to 8.25. That started to bring that number as we got more normalized, more level, where it wasn't bopping up and down, and we stayed between that 6 and 7 and kind of where we are now. That number today is 194, okay? Almost half of where we should be, okay? And that's across every price range, all right? So that has still put a lot of pressure on the housing market to try and find something. You couple that with renting, and I'll blend this together because what happened, you had, and we talk about availability, this crosses over into rents, it crosses over into, and I look at that as a housing component collectively. You had all those sellers that were selling their house, had all that equity in it, they didn't have some place to go. So what they did, they went into the rental market, and that they started taking up that pool of availability during that time. So then you put pressure on the affordability, availability, attainability on a renter pool. Those started to spike. You probably started to see that as rates went up. You couple that with what happened? Property taxes. Property taxes for the last 5 years have gone exponentially. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but we've seen 40 to 50, 60% jumps in property taxes. And you look at property taxes, I would argue they probably are relatively where they should be. The problem is that should have been spread out over the last 15 years. It was spread out, it was compacted to the last 5. So you've got interest rates gone up, you look at the price point of a house that's gone up, and what I did, this chart here just gives you a little bit of sample of, I went back 2015, I went in the middle of COVID, and I went to current day. So you can kind of see, when you look at this, looking at that top chart, March of 2015, the months of supply was 3.6. You look at March of 21, it was 0.4. Then you're still at 0.9. So we're still not where we need to be, okay? You look at the average price point in 2015, average price point for this market, $119,000 to buy a house. You're now at $224,000 to buy a house. So you've got pricing of housing that's gone up, you've got interest rates that have gone up, you've got property taxes that have gone up, and by the fourth component is you've got homeowners insurance. And that number has gone up 40, 50, 60%. So you have this crashing and convergence. It's almost like the perfect storm of everything going on, okay, from a housing standpoint. You also have that in the rental market as well. And those two feed each other because they, you've got people in and out. And the challenge becomes, from a renter standpoint, you want that pool of people who are renting, they're ready to make their home ownership their first opportunity. When you look at availability, you look at attainability, and you have this really big challenge of trying to cross over back and forth with those. So do we have a problem? Yes. Do we have a building problem? To what Katie said, we absolutely do. And I would put it, in addition to what Katie said, she's spot on with everything she said. What I would also say is, you ask why we're not building enough. When you look at the builders that we have, and I work with 3 specifically myself, and I cross over with others. The challenge that we have with our builders today, they're aging out of the building. You look at the builders today, they've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, all right? The majority of the population of builders that are good builders. So what are they doing? They're building anywhere from 2 to 5, maybe 10 houses a year. We have one builder in town that does more. Drip A is a builder who does more than anybody else, quantity-wise. The rest of the builders, you've got, and they're building, when you look at the average price point, you're not building today any less than $380 to $550. And when you look at somebody that's a first-time home buyer, you take property taxes, you take interest rate, you take insurance, that brings that number that they can afford, attain, down, at least by $100,000 in some cases. So, when you look at that, we've got to find and incentivize people to come here that do want to build more than the custom houses that, what Katie was talking about. Yes, there's a population who wants, 50 and above, who can afford that $550,000, $600,000 house. In some cases, maybe that's the second or third house you've moved up to, and yes, there are people who live in this community that can afford it. That's a smaller part of the population, okay? Where we need to find, yes, we absolutely need to serve that part of the population. I would argue we've got a bigger demographic quantity-wise that we have an issue that we need to help solve for. And how do we do that? Construction costs have gone up dramatically. They've gone from 150, 8 years ago to you're over 220, 250 today, okay? Part of that is out of our control, as Katie said, from a tariff standpoint, from things that are going on out of our control. However, anything that we can do to incentivize anybody to come and development, ground up, is a huge opportunity. And a lot of those builders, when you think about the ones that are in our market today that I talked about, they're outside of Domeyer Homes. The rest of those builders, they're not developers. They're building on site. You've got a lot, you've got land, they're going to build on that. Infrastructure is already there, or if it's in the county, they're putting a septic system in. So where we need to find help and support is those where we can help build that infrastructure. There are lots out there. There's land out there that's available. what can we do on our part to help them with that, baseline infrastructure. So you ask what you can do. That's a huge part, because then that gives them that affordability and availability of lots and the ability to build more than just one custom house at $450,000. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So, there is growth here, there is opportunity. People do need housing in this market. We've just got to figure out, A, who can help us, and how do we build that from a cost perspective that's affordable for people.
Mr. Mays?
Yeah.
I'm going to have you look in your magic 8-ball. With the shortage of inventory and high price of house, do you see a continuing rise in the cost of housing and building for the next couple of years, or?
Yeah, because that's been the trend we've seen. We've not seen anything
You don't see it
stabilize.
leveling off?
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, there is another developer that's coming in town. It's called Trident Homes, and I don't know if you've heard about this. It's 3D printing, concrete printing, and what Trident Homes is doing, and that is development is in progress as we speak. And I happen to help support that builder from the marketing and agent standpoint. They're coming in and they're going to be building 165 to 250 price point in housing. 2-bedroom, 1-bath, slab house, concrete, fully move in, you're at 165. 3-bedroom, 2-bath at about 1,250 square feet, 200,000. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage at 1,500 square feet, about 250. That price point, when you look at, for example, when you look at that 1,250 or 1,500 square feet, let's go 1,500. At a 250 price point, the rest of the building in town, same square footage, 1,500 square foot slab house, all the rest of the builders in town, you're 380 to over 400, 450. So there are options, stuff like that. That's new technology. It's different than what we have today. So do we have an opportunity to bring in something new and different and help with that? Absolutely.
What are most contractors telling people the square footage or price per square foot on building new homes?
You're anywhere from,
Yeah, versus existing homes, if you don't mind me.
yeah, you're anywhere from 220 to 250
Okay.
on new construction. Katie, you see any different?
That's probably about the average.
Yeah.
Most of our builders, though, are custom.
Yeah.
Most of our builders in town are custom. And you got Dropay and Bill Miner, they're not custom.
Right.
But other than that, your builders are custom in town.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to get, and that's going to be on a slab, you're going to get below that number if you've got, 1,500 on the main and you got 11,000, 1,200 on the basement. So you'll get below that, you'll get 180, 190 when you're full in at 2,700 square feet. But at that 1,500 slab, yeah, you're 220, 250.
But then on like an existing house that's on the market for sale, what do you see there? I mean, I remember when I bought my first home, everybody said, oh, you're looking at like $60 to $70 a square foot. And I know that's not the case anymore, but.
120 to
Yeah.
150.
Okay.
You're a good $100 below. Now, that price point has gone up because what you could, when you think about 2015, you could get a little 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, you could get that below 100,000. Move in, was it dated in some cases? Yes, but it was move in ready. Below 100 now, you don't find much that is move in ready. That little 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage, 80, 90 before, you're now 130, 140. 3-bedroom, that was that 1 to 110, you're anywhere from 150 to 200 now.
So it seemed like for a while there were a lot of house flippers. Is that still a trend in Shawnee County?
Not so much, they're still out there, yes. The challenge is when where you're finding that bucket is if that house has been in the family for a long time or dilapidated or that type of thing. The problem is the price point has gone up, so that margin is much more narrow than it ever was before, because what you can get that entry-level house to then layer on top of, and I call it the runway. What are you buying it for? What can you ultimately sell it for? What's that middle part after you lay out costs? That has compacted significantly to where it doesn't make it as worth it as it used to. It's kind of like, you're finding a needle in the haystack versus you had a plethora of, years ago, before COVID. That was definitely a huge trend.
Commissioner, on the house flippers, one of the things that I was surprised when I came back from my second term is the number of house flippers, for lack of a better term, that hits up our tax sale. That number had drastically increased. And as you can then imagine, the price of those properties that are tax sales have drastically increased too. The bargains that I used to see 10 years ago don't exist now. I'm not saying to bring in full market, but man, it's close.
Yeah. Fewer and much narrower, so, it's not as appealing to them. Unless they've got the capability to do 2, 3, 4, 5, you're the single one, and it becomes much more of a challenge today than it ever has.
Has infrastructure provided by government kept up with building? I mean, if you wanted to go build homes, is there any trouble with getting hooked up to sewer systems or water?
I would say just depends on where you are in the city, what part of the city you're in, or county. Some are easier than others.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you seeing the increases in home prices, are they uniform across the county, or are there areas where, certain parts of the county where maybe it's a huge increase, it's like a wildly popular area, and then others where it might have even gone down, or is it pretty much across the board?
You're seeing across the board increases. Are you, when you look at the I'll call it the 4 pockets of the city, you've got the north, you got southwest, you got central, and you got southeast. Southwest is going to carry, you're going to look at 20, 30% higher price point for the same house in west than you are east. I think that's partly due to infrastructure has gone west than it has gone east, especially when you look at, restaurants, you look at grocery, you look at everything. Growth has gone west versus east. That's a challenge, for sure. You've got, I always say, it depends. If you live in the west, you're a southwest person, you're not going to go east. Southeast typically doesn't go west. If you're southeast and you want land, you're going to go north. Southwest, you're going to go north. If you're north, you're tired of the land, big lot, want condensed down, you're going to come southeast and southwest, just depends. A lot of that ties to where you grew up too, especially if you're tied to your school district. You're very committed to what that school district is, if you have kids. If you don't have kids, not so much. You're probably going more towards where availability, where your work is, that type of thing. Just it does depend on, schools play a part if you've got a family that you're working, that you're trying to meet the needs of.
Okay.
I have one last question. The smaller towns, your Rossville, Silver Lake, and Auburn, are you seeing much growth there, or new homes?
Not so much new growth, unless it's out in, in the country. Price points have gone up. Those prices, like what you see here, absolutely have taken a rise post-COVID.
I know houses sell tremendously quick in those communities.
They do.
Where they say if you want to sell a house in Silver Lake, you just need to tell one person.
100%. Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And if there were a turnpike interchange in Auburn, would that affect the housing market there?
Yes, it would.
Any other questions? All right, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very
Thanks.
much. It's great information. All right, well, that is all we've got for our work session today. However, we are going to.
You want to see if there's any public comment?
Oh, is there any public comment? Seeing none. We don't have a need for executive session. However, we are going to keep the meeting open because we have a dedication of our courthouse remodel today. And so we're all going to walk across the street. You're welcome to join us. There is cake and punch and all that, I believe. So, yeah, so we will shoot for starting that in 5 or 10 minutes. So we're just going to take a minute to get all of our equipment over there ready to go. So if you're heading to that, let's go. And then we'll come back in and adjourn the meeting once we're done.